it's when we, talked to Nick for the first time that we realized, oh, yeah, we are not operating how a $10 million agency would need to operate. Yes, you can hire different coaches and some of them are going to be bad, but the good ones, the really good ones, can take your game to the next level very quickly if you find that right person. Nick is that person. He absolutely can speed up the time to which you can achieve your goals at whatever plateau or hurdle you're at.
I would say about Nick, it's like he's actually doing what he's showing us how to do. So there wasn't theory, it wasn't speculation. It was like, no, here is the playbook. And this is the outcome that this playbook gets you to. And then we're like, all right, well, you've got our attention.
Yeah, Luke, you want to start first?
We run an agency called Grow My Ads, and it's basically Google Ads specialist agency, work with all kinds of businesses, primarily working with advertisers already using Google who've hit some kind of plateau or have got some kind of challenge that they can't fix themselves, and we come in and kind of implement and solve the problem and help them grow their account. And we kind of do a mix of done for you as well as now some done with you sort of consulting on Google Ads.
Well, we were stuck. And so Luke and I went through a very decent growth spurt and we were able to outsell churn. And so we didn't think about it. We're losing clients, whatever, because we would sell 10, 12 deals a month, lose 4. Who cares, right? So that was kind of the situation we got caught up in, where we didn't realize that was going to bite us in the future. We were pretty confident in our ability to generate leads, but we no longer were confident in the fact that, like, okay, we can't just double the amount of leads that we're getting now. So we knew we were going to continue to grow, but not at the pace we were growing anymore. So now we're at the place we absolutely had to focus on continuing to keep the clients we were getting and increase the LTV out of that. So we were stuck. I think it was around $150,000 per month in revenue for us that we just could not break the wall. And we were stuck there for, I don't know, Luke, it was probably like 6 months to a year, maybe.
Yeah, pretty much a year. And I guess like the biggest thing was that we didn't really know what the problem was. We just thought, oh no, we need more sales, and we need more leads. We didn't understand the importance of like knowing all of these metrics that I guess we're going to get into shortly, internal to the company. And yeah, I think we were both pretty frustrated. We're just thinking like, is the agency stuck? Is it really going to go anywhere if we can't solve this problem? So yeah, it was definitely frustrating for a while there.
So Luke and I were just really good at marketing and sales for our own selves, and that's what was able to generate a lot of business. But you can only take that so far until the numbers of churn and sales per month start aligning, and that plateaus you, which is what we hit. But we didn't have an infrastructure. We were meeting with the teams and we were hiring, very smart, intelligent people, but we were operating like probably most boutique agencies do, where you would get a deal in, you kind of hand it over to the team, and you just hope that they knock it out of the park. And that was it. I make it very simple. Obviously, we were doing a lot of things behind the scenes, but we didn't really have a true operating system. We didn't have a true infrastructure. It was very Frankenstein together, and people operated in a lot of these silos. And Luke and I weren't really focused on a lot of the correct metrics because we were very siloed just on sales and marketing throughout the organization. So it's when we, talked to Nick for the first time that we realized, oh, yeah, we are not operating how a $10 million agency would need to operate. And that's kind of our goal, is to get to that $10 million level, at least at this stage. And that's when we realized, okay, we've got to bring Nick in with his expertise. He's been through this game several times at this level. These are hurdles. I mean, talking to him was like one of those, you talk to someone who's been through what you've been through, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be like learning the game of golf or tennis or something. And then you talk to an expert and they're like, oh yeah, here's why you're having that issue. And it's because they've been through that issue many times. And you're like, oh yeah, the light bulb moment goes off. Nick called every one of our pain points out. And you're like, oh, and he's like, this is probably what you're experiencing. Absolutely. So it was like one of those moments where you thought you were talking to like some magical fortune teller or genie who just knows everything, but it's because he's been through it. And so these hurdles were not unknown to him. He understood the playbook that needed to be installed in order to get us out of it.
Well, I would say the biggest one that stands out to me was when he showed us the ceiling in terms of revenue that you hit it based on your churn. So if your churn is at a certain level, it doesn't matter how many deals you're selling, you will cap out at a certain revenue size. And so at our point, like, we were selling significantly more deals, I think, than maybe most other agencies that he was speaking to or working with, and even you guys, but we were capped because we were losing them out the other side, and we didn't really have a process in place to track that. Other things like, again, we kind of came from more like sales, marketing, or at least myself personally, background, but he brought to our attention a lot more things like client experience and their positive or negative association with the team, how they're feeling at any given moment, irrespective of how good or bad the results are. And there were just so many missing pieces that he went through, like, oh, like, this is really what it takes. And we've just been oblivious to this, basically, to that point.
Data architecture, basically. Like, we had the data, we just didn't have it in a executive summary dashboard that was easy to follow. So Luke and I would, before meeting with Nick, we would kind of scramble around getting that data. We weren't focused on the metrics, right? We weren't focused on what's actual average retention right now and what's our CAC cost to LTV. We kind of understood our CAC cost, but we really weren't like looking at the LTV that much, because we were looking at it more from an upfront cash in hand standpoint, because we were just operating in that manner a little bit. And honestly, it was a cultural shift, and part of this is my fault. It starts at the top, and on the fulfillment side of strategists, when we were selling 10 deals a month and only losing 4, I just could care less. I was like, yeah, just move on. And so that created a culture of like, kind of, who cares? Like, all right, whatever, we'll just keep getting more new deals. And when that stopped for us and we had to really focus on the retention, then Nick, installed, hey, here are the KPIs and metrics that must be focused and followed with each department of your company. And so installing that and then working with the team and coaching them on, here are the new KPI and metrics that we're going to be going after, it was a shift. We have one strategist who's incredibly smart, unbelievably bright, and his retention shot up. And I was like, dude, what happened? Because I know it's not like you've changed the way your work ethic is, because your work ethic is always strong. I was like, what happened? And he's like, oh, well, you wanted us to focus on retention, so that's why I just started focusing on retention. And it made it sound so simple, but it truly was a mindset shift within the team. And so now our team is 100% focused on retaining clients. We focus really heavy on, why are we losing those clients? What could we have done better? How do we improve this? We now have escalation points with our director to help when a client's kind of like a yellow flag or a red flag. So the culture of Grow My Ads has completely shifted to being 100% focused on retention at all costs.
It's really client satisfaction, even over results. Like client experience, I suppose, over results, because sometimes the results are good, but maybe the client experience or the feeling the client has is just neutral, and we want to make it positive. And the other thing I would add to that is kind of just we were not really managers. We didn't really get how to manage our team. We were kind of just like, all right, well, we're going to hire really good people and hope for the best. And then we've also tried bringing in various managers to try to like install some kind of system that they knew. And that also didn't really work. And then when Nick sort of brought in kind of this operating system for tracking and like basically, first of all, telling people what they're being measured on, and then aligning the entire company around those core metrics that are pushing the levers that we want and that are moving the company in the right direction. That's what kind of like cemented the cultural shift, I think. And so just really being able to better use the people that we already had to their full capacity rather than, having a system that didn't really serve them or the company. No, I don't think so. It was as soon as people knew what they were being measured on, then they started working towards that. So it was more just the vagueness before that was the issue. But yeah, I didn't think we really had any pushback, and everyone understood, oh yeah, it makes sense to be tracking and measuring this stuff. And then they wanted to do well at these metrics that they now knew what they were and that they were being measured on these metrics.
Nick does a great job at prepping you for any potential change, sort of management behavior in regards to the team. If you were an agency that might have a little resistance, or you feel you could have resistance within your team, Nick navigates you through that perfectly. Luke?
This was obviously something that Nick called out in our first session with him, where he's like, do you have an onboarding experience? Do you measure the client's happiness levels throughout their time working with you? Is it documented? Is it being used? And the answer to all these things beforehand was really no. And one of the first things we did is we set up and built out like a really robust onboarding, not just process, but like an experience for the clients when they came on, that they would, from the day one, they would feel like we were really on top of everything and really ahead of everything. And rather than them prompting us, we've already thought of something and we're already doing that ahead of time. And I think this has definitely shifted people from maybe being neutral to, in some cases, not super happy, especially if results didn't come immediately, to now being very positive, even if results are taking some time to come in due to their account or whatever, because we're making their experience much more of a focus.
I think, yeah, Luke mentioned we didn't really have much of an onboarding process. Sure, we might have thought we did in regards to, here's step 1, 2, and 3. That's what we just thought, everyone did. It was just like, oh, if we do good work, they'll stay. That's not true. And we've realized that now after implementing this entire process. And we also had no clarity when a client left. You would just kind of go to the strategist and be like, hey, why did the client leave? And like, I don't know. They seemed happy. Or now it's like, well, they just kind of wanted to change things up. And you kind of just brush it off. You're like, oh, okay, these things happen. And you just move on, right? Well, once you have a proper process in place like we do now, we kind of, the warning signs start appearing early on, and you're able to then fix that before they would just fire you. So now when a client leaves, we have like true clarity as to why. And Luke and I's confidence level then in regards to why a client's leaving is way higher. And so we feel comfortable. Like clients are going to leave. All right. Now we absolutely know why people are leaving if they do have to leave. And I can sleep at night knowing the answers to that. And I can honestly say the process that Nick had us develop and build in regards to the onboarding process and being able to like allow clients to voice concerns in a way that comes early and to the top, we have absolutely, we're going to save probably an LTV alone, a 6-figure amount, I would say, this year.
Well, I would say, when we were plateaued, to put it pretty specifically, we were kind of plateaued at around $150K a month, something like this. And we couldn't get through it. And we kept hitting the ceiling and bouncing off it. And we've now been able to well and truly break through that ceiling because of what Nick's taught us. So even just in like monthly recurring revenue on that basis, it's made a huge, huge difference. In terms of churn, which is kind of the key factor that's been able to allow us to do that, because we're retaining clients longer, so now selling the same number of deals, and in fact, in some cases fewer because we're more selective, we're now retaining them longer, so we're able to grow in a way that we couldn't when we were selling more deals left and right. I think churn, what is it, Austin? I think churn's gone, when we first started tracking it, we were not great. I think it was like 15% or something like this monthly.
Yeah.
So we calculated that if we started the year with 100 clients, with that amount of churn, we had to sell 200 clients that year to end up with 100 clients at the end of the year because churn was so high. And now where we've cut churn down to, I think it's around less than 5% most of the time. So by a factor of 3, which means 3 times the lifetime value from each of these clients, at least on average. That that now lifts the ceiling on where we can grow to, because we're actually able to accumulate revenue each month rather than just, hitting the line and not getting past it.
Well, we've had to hire, so the team's growing. It feels, the most important thing to me now is the confidence that we have an operating system that the team can operate from in a way that allows for true success and growth of the company. So the KPIs and metrics that have been installed, the executive dashboards that have been installed, Luke and I can truly manage the company from dashboards and immediately know where issues might be. Whereas before, we would be guessing, or it would be too late by the time we would know there's an issue, and then there's a massive fire that we got to put out. So the fires that we were used to being a part of while growing and having all these issues, they're way less than what it used to be. And so, yeah, it truly feels like the company now is like a real company. It's operating from a real playbook that works. Luke and I are able to actually get out of the weeds. Before we were in the weeds of the company a lot. Now we're not fully out, but we're getting there, and we're able to manage the company like a true owner would. And we're able to understand the KPIs and metrics that need to be addressed and looked at on a monthly basis. And we know how to make decisions based off of those metrics and KPIs.
Yeah, I'll just add that the feeling of we're moving in the right direction is just huge. And, before this, yes, there were some agencies that would crack, $100K a month, that number, but there weren't that many that we were able to get information on that were significantly bigger than that, until you get to really big agencies where they're just so far ahead, they're playing a completely different game. And so we were kind of, we just didn't have certainty, confidence before in our strategy. We were questioning a lot of stuff, and to then sit down with Nick and be able to see how he's running things, and it is unbelievable how he's running things, how you guys are running things, and then to be able to get that and install it in our company and know that the same inputs are going to achieve the same outputs that he's actually achieved. If there's one thing I would say about Nick, it's he's actually doing what he's showing us how to do. So there wasn't theory, it wasn't speculation, it was no, here is the playbook, and this is the outcome that this playbook gets you to. And then we're all right, well, you've got our attention. And when we started implementing, lo and behold, it takes a bit of time. He's got to get the whole team on board. You're kind of reorienting the Titanic a little bit, and then it's on a safe path. And now we're kind of seeing the results of that. And so it was also, his confidence gave us confidence as well, and that was a big part of it.
Yeah, I would say, Luke and I were skeptical about most of the, agency courses and gurus out there. Most of them were, it's very heavy on just sales, get more sales. But we already knew that world very well, and we were excelling there. So we didn't have a sales problem. We kind of knew that. Then, you look at most of those guys, they don't even run agencies. And if they did run an agency, it was a failure. And then they just made more money, ending up selling, the info side and doing coaching and selling their agency course. So we it was rare to find someone like Nick who runs an agency, a very successful big one, has lots of experience running big agencies, understands that world. And then he's not talking about what all the sales bros are online. It's very high level, real business knowledge that you're extracting from him. And so immediately our first conversation when we had with him, we knew he was the real deal. This wasn't he wasn't selling some silver bullet. He just understands running and operating an agency. So anyone who's above 100K plus per month, you're going to hit a hurdle like we do. And in fact, Nick's even kind of given us the heads up. The 150K hurdle we hit is not the first one. The next one's coming, after we probably, I think, double from where we're at today. But there are hurdles to each level as you rank yourself up, depending on how big you want to grow. And he understands those hurdles and he understands the issues that need to be fixed within those. But I will say, if you're above $100,000 per month and you are stuck and you've plateaued and you've hit this wall, then you can buy your way out of that. And you can buy your way out of it by buying the knowledge of someone who's already done it. And Nick absolutely has done it multiple times over. And so it is one of those things, like, I do, not to knock like courses and info, but you can buy a course and get absolutely nothing from it. You can get coaching and get absolutely nothing from it. But there are times where you do get coaches or courses that will 10x the speed which you're able to achieve your goals, because their awareness level of that issue is that high compared to where you're at. Nick is there if you're in that 100K plus per level of an agency and you're stuck somewhere at a wall. So it would be like relating to, learning a sport such as golf or tennis. And yes, you can hire different coaches and some of them are going to be bad, but the good ones, the really good ones, can take your game to the next level very quickly if you find that right person. Nick is that person. He absolutely can speed up the time to which you can achieve your goals at whatever plateau or hurdle you're at. Luke and I think back right now where we're at today. We've been engaged with Nick since, I don't know, it's what, 6 months. I look back and I'm like, boy, if we didn't have Nick and we didn't get Nick in around the time we did, I don't know where we would be at right now. It wouldn't be where we're currently at. Do I think Luke and I were probably diseased enough of entrepreneurs that we probably would have stumbled our way through it eventually? But I don't know. It could have taken another full year, 2 years maybe. Who knows? But like we were able to rapidly break through where we were at due to Nick's help and coaching, because he's already done it.
Like, to add to that, like, it's, I still feel like this is still the early stages of seeing the benefits of what Nick's helped us to install. Like, what we now have is going to take us to, maybe $500,000 a month. I have full confidence in that. We're obviously a while away from that right now, but this same system, the system that we were running back when we were, stuck at 150K a month, that would not have taken us there. There's just no question. Like, that was broken and it wasn't going to go much further, and we'd stretched it to its absolute limit. And now we're kind of operating with a completely different operating system that I think has got way more growth potential. And so that actually gets me excited about running an agency again, which for a long time neither of us were super excited about running the agency. I think now we definitely are very excited about it.
Very much.